Hello, and welcome to hashtag Triple P Tip Teen Talk Tuesday. That is getting to be a long word. Anyway, Amanda and Penny here to talk about Triple P, and we are on number 4 of the Triple P tips for teens, parents of teens, and that is timing is everything. So how many times as parents have we walked into something that maybe we shouldn't have, or we asked for things to get done and they didn't get done right, and then we were upset, right? Like, timing is everything can look so different to so many people, right? It's what you're asking, when you're asking, how you're asking, right? So Triple P says that we should talk with our teens about those problem issues when everyone's calm and relaxed. Again, calm and relaxed is one of those things that we will touch on in every tip because it is so important to the future of the conversation and the relationship that we're building with our teens, because it is a new relationship than it was when they were toddlers, and as the developmental stages progress, so does our relationship need to. If we're busy, stressed, in a hurry, those aren't good times to maybe give directions, because sometimes our teens can be really literate, and they'll be like, oh, well, you only said to wipe down the counter, right? Instead of that being one of the things that they need to do in the kitchen that we ask. And so if we're not calm and relaxed, if we're not in a space where we're kind of making eye contact as well as we can with our kids, the chances are our teens aren't gonna remember everything. Triple P talks about family meetings, and a lot of times, I want to say in the old days, but in the 80s, and before, families spent a lot of time together sitting around the dinner table. Breakfast was there, everybody was sitting there, and there was opportunity for conversation and what's happening in your world, those kind of things. And now, as our society is just go, 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 everybody's got to be in everything, we don't get to spend as much time together. And so with Triple P's suggestion of having a family meeting, maybe you can, prior to an event occurring or prior to something blowing up in everybody's face, talk about that, right? Talk about, okay, well, when this happens, what does that mean, right? What does that look like in our, do I need to have little cards for cleaning for you so that I can just be like, hey, clean the kitchen, please. Here's the card, or where the card is, done, right? And so those family meetings are very important, not only to kind of work things out, but also to build that connection again, build that, those important foundational walls that we need as parents to build with our teens. Another Triple P strategy is behavior contracts. Again, it's really hard to, as we mentioned, right, have a conversation when everybody's hackles are up, when everybody's in that defense, right, that flip the lid mode. And so behavior contracts are sometimes a good thing when we're seeing similar behaviors from our kids, our teens, right? So if they're constantly late for curfew, having an opportunity to have that conversation around a behavior contract and just be like, hey, these are the expectations. Is there room to negotiate? Can we compromise somehow, right? Does something need to be changed? Okay, we've had that conversation. Now let's put that down on paper, right? Let's have a behavior contract. It doesn't hurt anybody. And I mean, look at our jobs as adults, right? We have behavior contracts all the time. Our job descriptions, right? The responsibilities that we're being asked to do. And so, we call it behavior contracts, but call it a job description, or, try something different, a different word, because I think behavior contracts in and of it themselves is kind of a scary thought, for sure, right? And so, yeah, family meetings, behavior contracts, having those conversations with your kids, remaining calm and relaxed. Timing is everything.
Yeah, so something popped up again. What is that? Oh, yeah. So looking back to the other 3 tips, this one kind of, like you said earlier, kind of summarizes them, and it gives your kids a chance to talk about how they feel. It gives you a chance to pick your battles, to set a good example about this is how we problem solve as a family. This is how we compromise. We don't do it by screaming and yelling in the moment, but we do it by sitting down together and everybody listens. And yeah, there was something that struck me in there about when they're younger too, about, I guess, just how you talk and how this sets them up for good problem solving, right? That, showing them how to negotiate and, oh, I know what it was. So one of the core ideas of Triple P is the planning aspect, right? So when we're talking about parenting strategies, planning, so writing things down with your partner if you're co-parenting, and so this just extends to your adolescence, is that idea of having a plan. So if co-parents know what's going to happen when curfew is broken, they can operate together as a team. If the team knows what's going to happen in advance, well, then they have that capacity to make that decision and to deal with whatever consequences come with that. So it isn't a surprise that you caught me on a bad night, so now you're grounded for a month. We all know that if you break curfew, that means you don't get to go out with your friends for the next 3 nights or whatever you've all come up with. And it just takes all that heat out of that moment when you're already probably upset because they are late. So that would be, yeah, that kind of struck me as a very Triple P, the idea that if you want to succeed, planning and writing things down even is very important.
And just kind of as a summary, I thought of one more thing too. So collect before you direct. It's definitely something, and again, evidence-based. I can't remember. I'm sure there's a few researchers out there who have said this, but collecting before we direct. So touching base with your kids, right? Touching base with your teens. You get home, they're in their room, you notice the garbage wasn't taken out and they were supposed to take out the garbage. So then instinctually, we will go to their room and be like, why wasn't the garbage taken out? What have you been doing since school ended, right? And to add another perspective to that, instead of doing that first, going into the room and being like, hey, how was school today? Or how are you right now? Or what are you watching? Or what are you doing, right? And then after you've collected, right, and built that connection in that moment with your teen, then you can be like, hey, remember it's garbage night, or I asked you to take out the garbage, can you do that please, right? Because if you go in there with your full steam, they're just going to be like, and that will be the end of their thought processes, like we've talked about for the next few minutes, right? And so collect before you direct is something that I remind myself personally every day when I walk in my door, every single day.
Yeah, it's super important to join them in their world and it doesn't have to be long, 10, 20 seconds, especially if you've been separated. But going back to that, connection thing of, letting them see your happiness to see them. And even if they are breaking a rule, so you could use that same example around a curfew, right? It's like they come in, it's past curfew, you can still look happy to see them and you can still ask them about their night and engage them and then say, and right, it's 12:30, so you know what to expect, right? This was our agreement. And so it just kind of smooths the edges a little bit and shows them that you care about them as a person equally as much as you care about the garbage or the curfew, or that who they are is important to you, not just what they do, right? That unconditional idea of I love you even though this is happening. Yeah, those are great examples.
Excellent. So as always, www.fcss.ca to see more about our programs and the things that we're doing across the board. And that was tip number 4 from Triple P. Timing is everything. Have a great day, everyone.
Okay, we'll see you next week. Bye for now.